All right, my total wellness women, we are now out of the experience of the yin into the yang, and we're ready now to kind of bring our humanness back into it and continue to be guided by source. We're going to be moving out of the spring retreat and we're going to be people taking actions, behaving certain ways. Many of you that are here in this experience, or if you've witnessed the recordings or in the group, we set an intention for what we want in spring. Now it's finding the messages we might need to allow that intention to come to fruition. This might mean specific things that are going on in our life. Maybe there's choices that we're going to need to make. Maybe there's specific experiences with other people and relationships that we know we're going to need to make. Maybe it is just, as one of our beautiful women here has shared with her intention, practicing more discernment, knowing and trusting ourselves a little bit more in the choices we make. But I want you to sit for a moment, and either you can gaze into your spring item, you can just close your eyes and bring yourself back to the yin or the yang experience. And I want you to just see what's possible in your life if your spring intention actually came to fruition. As I shared with many of the women that are here in the live version of this experience, trust has been my word. And so as I explore how to honor the shadow and the yin work that I've gone through this winter, through the loss that I've had several deaths in my family, to a lot of unwell or people dealing with sickness very close to me, to myself, some of my old stuff coming up again, migraines, some hormonal imbalances, and having to come back to honoring my body, my well-being, and making my family and the people I care about a priority again. That came through the shadow work of me having to do some grief work, me having to do the forgiveness work, me having to just hold the space for myself and be patient. In the midst of all that happening, I was also in a rebrand of my business. At the same time, I was grieving and ill and managing all of that. Something beautiful also got to happen. I got to work with beautiful team. I got to connect with amazing women that are supporting me in my vision, still have amazing clients and ready to welcome in more with the new brand and the new mission of Tracy's Total Wellness Soul Growth Journeys. The yin and the yang for me were happening at the same time. So for me, spring is a time to trust that I've done the work I needed to do, to trust that I'm on the right path, because when my intuition is telling me something, it is spot on, and I'm going to start trusting it more. So for me, the spring season is when I hear those intuitive hits, I'm not going to shut them down. I'm going to trust them. That's going to mean boundaries around health, relationships, work, money. It's also going to mean making choices that maybe my logical mind doesn't understand, but I'm getting a gut intuition it's right. So as you witness my story of transforming from the yin into the yang, Tracy's Total Wellness is rebirthing, but Tracy is also in that space of rebirth. And for that to happen, it's trust. And so for you, thinking about that and writing in your journal now or jotting down, what do you see your future self? And it could be your very, very slightly future self, the version of you once you stop this gathering or you turn this recording off, if you're listening to that version of you right after this experience, moving all the way through the season of spring until we get into June, when summer approaches. We have this time. We have this time to be and make choices. So I want you to take yourself through some future pacing. What is she doing or not doing? Who is she with or not with? And then when you feel called, just writing down what comes. Being in a space of possibility and guidance. As you step into the space of possibility and guidance, we're going to also have messages from divine always coming through. The season of spring, trusting your dreams, trusting when maybe you see that animal cross your path. You see 111 on the clock. You see an image of something on a billboard that just gets your intuition activated. Being open to those messages. And now, BB Soto, one of our guest healers, is going to help us be open to even more messages. This is a time to continue to free write, to journal, but also to be in a space of possibility of what is able to be said exactly to you. She'll be sharing a collective card pull for this higher powers message to you, but there's probably something personal for each and every one of you. So I encourage you, as she guides us now, take note of what pops up for you. Jot a few things down if you notice, and know that you can come back to this recording and even immerse in more. So I'm going to bring her to the stage and give her the opportunity to do what she does best. The stage is yours, BB Soto.
All right. Well, hello, welcome. So when we were meditating earlier, something that I held on to for now was another thing that came to me was the spiral. And I get the spiral a lot, and I usually think of it in the terms of like it's the connection to the collective unconscious. But recently I bought this deck. It's the Sacred Symbols Oracle, and learned that spirals historically have also been symbols of growth. So I pulled this card out since we are discussing springtime and we are discussing growth. That is the period when the blossoming happens, the growing happens, before we harvest and collect and what we've grown through this spring and summertime. So when the growth card appears, when the spiral appears, it's always good to pick another one to give an idea of what is growing, what are we looking at for this season. So we're growing our meditative practice. We're growing our connection within, because that connection within. So as we soar into yang, we don't want to forget our yin practices. We don't want, it's not an either or, it's bringing them together. So whatever practice for you is meditative and helps you connect within or helps you ground, these are the practices that you want to be really thinking about and focusing on in this season, because as we do soar out, as we do connect with that yang energy, we need to make sure that we are still coming back home to ourselves, that we are still connecting with the divine, that we are still finding that balance and harmony between that yang and yin energy. So we're going to take a little bit of a journey here with the tarot and see what the tarot has to say for us this spring. Now, as Tracy said, with general readings, your intuition and what you see in the cards is as important as what shows up for me and what I discuss, because there could be something. And Cindy, I know you were one, you're my perfect example of someone who saw her own symbol, something that meant something personal to her, little teeny tiny thing in a card that had meaning for her personally. So keep an eye out for those. The messages today may or may not resonate right away. We are doing a seasonal reading for the season of spring. we're talking about manifestation. Okay, Caroline, can you see? Want me to actually, maybe I can do it this way.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
can see it on there too.
we are talking about manifestation. So growth, we've been talking about that. We've been talking about growing into soaring out, yang, who we are. So the magician absolutely is yang energy. Look at the fire. Okay, the magician is in tune with that inner connection, that higher wisdom. They know what they can tap into it, and they have the active energy, the ability to take it, look around in front of them, see what tools they have, and create it. Wow. Okay. So we are a room full of empaths. This is a unique card to this deck, and I'm not surprised that it would come up in this setting. So because for all of us, being empathic really is a tool. It really is a gift. It's a blessing. It is what makes us us. And so what are we manifesting? What can we use those empathic powers? But we are also looking at protecting those ourselves, protecting that energy. That's where this growing our meditation practice or a meditative practice. Again, I want to clarify, it doesn't have to be strictly like your typical idea of meditation. It can just be anything that helps bring you feeling home to yourself, whether it is getting into the soil and actually growing something out in the garden, if it's running, biking, swimming, walking, yoga, whatever, we want to be growing those practices so that we are protecting that empathic energy. Oh, here's,
They can't see because they're sideways. It starts.
so here is the discernment in the King of Swords. So using that wise, but here is this more analytical mind where we are tapping into, we are very empathic. We are talking about meditative. This is more coming back into that balance of that yang energy and not forgetting to stay in tune with the wisdom that we have gained through experience and being able to discern. That is a word that is often associated with the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So if you ever see them come up in tarot readings, we're talking about that ability to discern. Queen of Swords. So we are talking about that, not only being able to discern and make decisions, but then the Queen of Swords, all of our queens are artists, they are creators. So again, we're coming back to that manifestation. So we are using our like intellectual abilities to like create that like that life for ourselves. So it's not all the, again, it's yang energy. So it's not all about the necessarily the visualizing and the dreaming about it. It is the strategically planning it out. It is the sitting down and making step-by-step plans. And it's bringing into connection that idea that when we do our meditative practices, we are tapping into our intuition, clearing our mind, because we want to have a healthy mind for this experience of growth that we're going to go through. So as it is right now, there's so much cosmic energy here at play. We're looking at very positive energy. We're being protected. If you can see this is the messenger card. So we're talking about, like we were talking about ravens being a message or a messenger from across the realm. So collectively, we are all going to receive those messages this spring. And they're going to be like higher power messages, and they're most likely going to come in these meditative states, which is why we want to continue to protect that yin practice. Wow. So we're talking huge shifts this season, huge shifts. The strength card is like the epitome of, think of the cowardly lion, think of the lion that already had the courage within him. All the wizard did was gave him a potion to drink that made him think. So we already have everything we need in us. And what we have in us is our ability to be empathic. We have both yin and yang energy. We have the ability to strategically plan and then take that strategic plan and actually implement it. So the Red Queen is in the Alice in Wonderland stories was a chess piece. So when you think about that metaphor of the queens can move all across the board. The queens have the power to do what all the other pieces don't have. They all have constraints to how they can move across the board, and the queens can move in all the different directions. They are one of the most powerful chess pieces to the game. So we are talking about that artistry that women can bring, that artistry that this yin side to the intellectual energy to take the ability to plan and then to create it into a reality. This empathic nature is how we're going to be able to recognize our messages, and we are going to find the strength within. We're going to be in tune and in touch with our emotions. This is going back to that empathic energy. We will have community around us. We're going to have reasons to celebrate. We may not find that this is like, we're not going to necessarily get to the end of the destination. This isn't necessarily like the accomplishment of all, but there's going to be the minor celebrations that we can find within our support network, within our people around us, that are going to be the intermediary pause between the end of one difficult journey and the beginning of what may or may not be another difficult journey. There's always conflict, there's always differences of opinions, there's always people who are going to try to take from us. So we need to be mindful of those conflicts and awareness that there are always different sides to every story, and everybody's so it's coming back to that like discernment, like realizing that everybody's side of things is as important to them as it is to you. So if you find yourself in some kind of conflict over this season, take a step back and really try to give space to allow for all the perspectives to be heard before making any kind of decision. We've talked about death. Someone's word was rebirth. So the biggest thing that I'm seeing here that I just is amazing is how much it's like it's all cosmic. There's a lot going on. I know we talked about patience and presence. Like there's so much going on right now that's just it's not in our control. Like it's all stuff that is happening behind the scenes that we are not meant to see yet. So all we can do right now is right here in this King and Queen of Swords and this King of Cups, which is, and the meditate, so this is what we have within our ability, is to continue with our plans, to continue figuring out how we're going to actually make those into something tangible, and to really, really own into the metaphysical and emotional side of being an empathic person, and give ourselves the space and the grace to be unique in this world and move through it uniquely, and to actually let that be part of the messages we get, so that we are being guided by ourselves. And within that is where we're going to find this like transformation that is coming. So the death card is not in any ways like an ending or a physical death. It is the thing that does end, but it brings about the new. So we're looking at that kind of like phoenix spirit here in this deck. It refers to the Wicked Witch of the West, and the fact that she, melts down into a puddle. But in the book, she's not like gone like she is in the movie. She's just changed into something else. So, but the like evil in her is gone. So we're going to be able to like let go and kind of drop some of these things. So, oh, well, Swan Spirit just flew right out. So time for a deep dive. This is coming back to this meditation, and that while we are being more active in this season and we're following those dreams and we're strategically planning, you know, in that strategically planning, in that really like manifesting spirit, really look at, and this where Carol was talking about, you know, like where does the energy go? Where does it really need to go? What are you manifesting? What are your manifesting practices? And this just, it takes time to reflect. So this season, I keep coming back to it, but at the end of the day, to really begin to get in touch, to make sure we're not missing the messages, to have time to strategically plan, and to really stay inspired. We have to allow the time to be ourselves, to rest. We have to enjoy the times of celebration. And here, Dear Spirit is telling us to bring a gentle touch. So this is also a fawn, and another thing about fawns is they are another symbol of like a new beginning, and usually a new beginning that comes with some kind of financial something. So some kind of new avenue, new answer to something like that. Not necessarily doesn't necessarily mean a huge shift like a new job. It could just mean a new client, a new partnership, a new investment, something like that, that brings about some kind of new beginning for you in the financial way. Okay. All right, so we have our animal spirit. So we're going to look at, okay, well, the silence, we're getting reaffirmation here, if I haven't said it enough, that we want, that the answers are in the silence. So when we get hung up on our planning, because that's a very yang energy in and of itself. Creation is a yang energy. Growth is a yang energy. But we can sometimes get stuck in trying to think our way out of something when sometimes the answer isn't there. The answer is in the spaces in between. And sometimes the answer is to not have an answer, if that makes sense. Like sometimes you're not meant to know. And that's what's being shown here, is there is a lot going on right now collectively that we are not supposed to have. We're not supposed to like know necessarily what's coming. So for all of those of us who were sharing about feeling like we're getting impatient, we need to slow down, we need to accept the process, that's, you're being reaffirmed here that right now you are not meant to know. You are not meant to have the answers. The answer is in the discomfort. The growth here is in the discomfort. And if you want to feel more comfort within that, we need to quiet that active mind down that is trying to get the answers, and let the messages that are coming through come to us. That again is this magician, like that manifestation too. It's a little bit of like the channeling, being a conduit. And that if you are trying to control everything, the channel gets clogged up. The ability to be the conduit, the ability to receive the messages from source, from spirit, from universe, however you name it, gets clogged up with your own active thinking mind. And so it's going to be a time of very much balancing between, because we are being told that we need to be actively engaging in thinking about what we want to create, but we are also being told to allow for the feeling and intuition to balance out and guide that and look for those divine messages. Sun bear is a positive symbol. You see sun bear, so whatever's come up in this reading, whatever, if there's been any decisions made, if there's been any thoughts that have arisen, any like changes of directions that have been considered, when sun bear shows up, you're on the right path. So even if it's not today, even if it's what's coming up, even if it's what's coming up, you are on the right path. So right now, if you are in a period of time where you've been faced with a decision, when sun bear comes, it's usually saying that whichever decision you make is the right decision. You're going to end up where you're supposed to be. Right now, there is no either or, there is no this or that. There really is only one path. They're just different prongs to the same path. Okay, so Tracy just gave me the 2-minute warning. So I'm going to end with my blessing cards. I always end with a blessing cards. I'm going to show the image. So this deck has every card has a different image on the back.
It's gorgeous.
And so that's called the Namaste deck. And so this one is a blessing of gratitude. So be grateful for all your experiences. I know everybody just loved to hear that because we've all been going collectively through difficult experiences, and we all know that we're supposed to be being patient right now and getting through it. And so I know this is a struggle, but we're coming into something that is going to be the right thing for us. So we're being grateful for all of our experiences. For all in life serves a purpose. There's a blessing in all that did or didn't happen. There's a blessing unfolding this very moment. Listen to your heart and follow its wisdom. Be mindful, for the journey is as important as the destination. So we've talked about symbols of wisdom today, and discernment, and that discernment and wisdom go together. So Helga, once again, this word, I told you, Caroline, it's just going to follow you everywhere once you hear it. That word is just keeping up with us. And again, I think this really does reaffirm what Sun Bear here is trying to tell us, is that right now, none of us are meant to really know or have the answers. Just keep doing what you're doing, because whatever you are doing, you're on the right path right now. So if that's been a question for you recently, or is a question coming up, yes, you're on the right path. Stay the course. It is going to be foggy and unsure and unclear, and it's going to require a lot of pulling on your inner self and your inner strength, but you have it. You just keep doing the practices that help you connect with it. And so with that, namaste.
Let's say thank you to Rita for her amazing card pull, and all my beautiful guest healers for the experience today. They'll be offering ways to connect further with them. For those of you that are listening to the recording or in the virtual group, I encourage you, write down what came up, the ahas, the insights, and where you're ready to move forward in spring with the messages. Those of you that are here live, take some time to just jot anything down. And we're gonna go around the room and be able to share in one of my favorite things, which is in community, have some discussion around what the heck that card pull meant. So those of us here in community, we're going to do that. Those of you that are listening in, know that this community is always here for you to dial into when it works for you.